Chantel. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a monthly wrap-ups. For the month of October, I read only thriller books. There was some nights that I couldn't get to sleep. I managed to read 7 different books, and we're going to be ranking them from my least favorite to the 5-star read that I found this month. Let's get into it. Starting with my DNF of the month, The Haunting. This one here, it is a thriller, but it's marked YA. So honestly, that sums up the whole reason why I DNF'd it. I don't have anything against YA books. Some of them are 5-star reads for me. However, they need to be done correctly, because this one was done in a condescending tone. When I was reading it, I felt like I was being talked down to, and there was no way that I was going to sit through 300 pages of that. I actually ended up DNFing it at 36 pages. The plot itself had a lot of potential and did seem kind of interesting. It was just the tone of the writing that I could not handle. It was definitely a very Halloween-y vibe, so if you're looking for a young adult book to read right before Halloween, this may be an option for you. I can't say much on the plot considering I DNF'd it. So any books that I DNF do get 1 star, so this is my 1 star for the month. I really can't tell you much about the plot, but I'll tell you what I know. We've got our hometown, we've got our female main character and our male main character. They used to date until his dad was convicted of murdering, I think, like 3-4 kids in the town. So obviously her parents made her break up with him because they're in high school, they decide what she does. And college applications, it doesn't look good to be the girlfriend of a serial killer's son. So they tell him have to cut ties. The whole town ostracizes these 2 kids because their dad was a serial killer. Their mom is out of the picture, so it's just the 2 of them because the eldest is of age. Our female main character walks into a store and finds a dead body on the ground. It's another kid from their high school. It's exactly 1 year from the anniversary of the previous serial killer, and everyone is looking at the son. So she's determined to prove his innocence. And I don't know if they're really talking at this point. Like, at the beginning they're not, but maybe because he's been accused of murdering this kid, they might rekindle. I don't know. If you read it, maybe let me know how it goes. Let me know what happens. Maybe just to ease my curiosity. This is my 2-star read for the month. Don't Let Him In by Lisa Jewell. This one had so much potential. It was actually the first book that I read this month, and it came in at 2 stars. I was so disappointed because I've read some of her other books and I really enjoyed them. But this one here, it just showed all their cards too early. Like, I knew what was happening in the book before like the 1/3 mark, which was really annoying because that's why I read thrillers. I read thrillers for plot twists and suspense, and you just killed both of them. Maybe without the male POV, it would have made it more suspenseful. But adding the male POV gave it more of a creepy vibe. It was giving the view into like a psychopath. And I understand why they did it, but personally I would have preferred without it because it would have made it more suspenseful. The only part that you actually didn't know about was the ending, and I thought it was so disappointing. Right now she's sitting 1 for 1. I've only read 2 of her books. I read this one, which was a 2-star. It's a no for me. Then I've also read Then She Was Gone. That was a 4-star read for me, so it's definitely a yes. I've got another one of her books on my shelf that I'm going to give it a try. If it's also a no, I will probably cut her from my rotation. The plot for Don't Let Him In mainly surrounds Ash. That's what I would say is the main character. That's the daughter of Okay, let's play this out. Family tree time. We've got the dad who's just died. His name was Patty. Then we've got the mom, Nina. The daughter, Ash. And they've also got a brother as well, but he's like a side character. So since the dad has died, they have been struggling for the last year, coping and rediscovering their life, essentially. In walks this new guy. His name is Nick Radcliffe. Apparently, he used to be friends with Patty way back in the day. So he starts charming Nina, the mom, and Ash is getting weird vibes, saying, where the hell is this guy coming from? He seems too good to be true. He's just sweeping you off your feet. What if he just wants your money? Stuff like that. And she's just getting a weird vibe. And so she starts looking into this guy, and there's not much. So she starts spiraling, doing her own little sleuthing, reaching out to her dad's ex from his early 20s. Apparently now they're a partnership. And they're discovering that maybe Nick is not exactly who he says he is. So that's the main plot of this one. The next book I read was a 3-star read. The Ex by Freida McFadden. I've always got to toss a Freida McFadden book in there. I do not care. They are always either a hit or a miss, and I'm always prepared for the roller coaster ride. This one was not her best, but also not her worst. I didn't hate it. It was definitely quick-paced, which was a nice little palate cleanser for me. I noticed when I'm reading back-to-back of the same genre, I need that quick pace to break it up. Normally how I do it, I jump back and forth between genres to prevent going into a reading slump. So when I'm reading only one genre all month long, I break that up by doing a pace change. This was that for me. However, by reading this book, I think I figured out the recipe for her plot twists. I always know her books by throwing in a really left field plot twist, but when you think about it, maybe they're not so left field. I've noticed that she likes to do technicalities with names. So she likes doing nicknames, or she'll avoid naming a character, and that is a huge red flag. It normally means they're coming back in the plot twist. I feel like this recipe covers about 90% of her books. That being said, I am very proud to say I managed to guess the plot twist in this one. The plot for the X. We've got 2 POVs in this one. The first one is the new girl. She is over the moon because she's just met this hot doctor. She owns this bookstore and he walks in one day, asks her out, no big deal. She thinks she's being swept off her feet. Her bookstore is struggling, but she inherited from her grandparents and they had the world's best love story. So she is determined to have the same for herself. The other POV is the other woman. This other woman is actually the hot doctor's ex. And we see in the first chapter that she thought that they were going to get married. And he's sitting her down. She thinks it's a proposal. Actually, it's him breaking up with her. And so she's kind of following behind this new girl, getting info and jealously stalking her ex. You think she was gone? Well, no, she's not. And she's very jealous. So we're going to see how that plays out. The next one, I would give it a 3.5 stars if I did half-star rankings, but I don't. So it's going at 4 stars. We'll round up to be generous. First Lie wins. This one here, it took me a while to get invested in it, at least the halfway mark, which is kind of slow. I would say it was really hard to bond with the female main character because she kept changing identities. How am I supposed to bond with you if you keep changing who you are? That was a huge struggle for me. I actually did like the last half of the book once I did become invested in it, but I didn't care for any of the flashbacks that it did. The plot of First Lie wins. We've got our main character, Evie Porter. I mean, I could call her that, but her name changes every story. She is essentially a con artist. She came from a small town and she was just trying to make ends meet because her mom was sick. She gets scooped up and taken into this organization, which is essentially, I think, conning people. They would send her on jobs and she'd get the intel, or she'd grab blackmail on this person and give it to her boss. Like that was her job. So she's been sent on all types of jobs. Every job has a new identity. That is what made it so hard to bond to her, is who is she really? Anyway, her current job is she's sent to Ryan Summers. This is, on this face, he looks just like a finance bro. His grandparents died and he inherited their business. He just runs this like loaning company. I don't know, it's very banky. And she's kind of raising her eyebrows being like, okay, why is my boss looking at this guy? Turns out he also has a transport company for the black market. And that's what she's supposed to be getting info on. However, things start seeming a little fishy. She doesn't know if she can trust her boss anymore. So, is she alone? Should she be switching sides? That's what we go over. The next one I read was a 4-star read, Middle of the Night. This one is by Riley Sager. I've read a few of his other books, and I noticed that his tone tends to be a little bit more serious than some of the authors that I read. It's not a bad thing, but I can definitely sense a vibe change when I pick up his books. This is a very serious, mature vibe, even though it does surround children. It does also touch on paranormal, and it does that thing where it goes around the room and everyone at one point is a suspect. But it did end up ending very realistically, which I can appreciate. I hate when it's like a super vague or unrealistic ending. That really annoys me. Our main character, Ethan Marsh, has moved back to his family home. His parents have retired and moved to Florida. Now, this isn't such a big deal, except for the fact that his childhood friend was actually abducted from his backyard when he was a kid. They were camping in the backyard, they were 10 years old, this is something they did every Friday, and Billy went missing. So Billy was never found, and so Ethan still has so much trauma around this about his best friend who disappeared when he was young. Now weird things are happening, and he's starting to get the sense that maybe Billy's around. Is it his spirit? They started investigating Billy's disappearance again, and everything comes rushing up, flood of emotions, we're getting different suspects, and at the end, we finally found out what happened. Next up is another 4-star read, We Used to Live Here. This has been recommended to me time and time again. When I posted it on my TikTok that it was in my TBR for the month, people were telling me to read it. I will definitely say I'm surprised, because I don't get scared from thriller books, or at least that's what I've been telling everybody. I get scared from scary movies, but normally not thriller books. This book scared me. I struggled to go to sleep that night. It was the stairwell scene. If you've read it, you know. That just freaked me out. Ooh. And so that being said, the visuals were great in this book. The inside flap says Get Out meets Parasite. I would disagree with that. I would say Parasite and Us is a better comparison. Both done by Jordan Peele, so very similar vibes. I feel like the style of his movies were definitely a huge influence in this book. It's definitely a paranormal, creepy thriller, maybe more of a psychological thriller. I thought the ending was very similar to Jordan Peele's movies because it didn't spell out what happened. It needed like a little bit more interpretation. I feel like you could definitely analyze so many aspects of this book. I didn't, but you definitely could. There are so many different angles to look at it and things that maybe you didn't consider. The plot of We Used to Live Here is super creepy. First off, we've got these two girls who live in a house. They've just bought this house and they're planning on remodeling it or leveling it out and rebuilding. That's what they do. They just buy real estate and that's how they make their money. They flip it. So we've got our main character, Eve. She's home alone and she gets a knock at the door. She looks through the window and she sees a family of 5. We've got the mom, the dad, 2 boys, and a little girl. And the dad asks, "Hi there, can I see the house? I'd like to show it to my family. I used to live here when I was younger." And she's kind of like, okay, well, family doesn't give serial killer vibes. So like maybe I could let him in, but also she doesn't really feel like it. But she's got this people-pleasing need. So she's gonna phone her partner and say, "Hey, can they come in?" Kind of use it as a scapegoat, right? She said no, sorry guys, you can't. Anyway, she tries to do that line and then the little girl guilt trips her and starts crying and she caves and says, "Just 15 minutes, right?" And so they do the tour of the house and next thing you know, the people won't leave. They're essentially like squatters. One thing happens after the other and they cannot get them out. We used to live here. Apparently they live there again. So you can see where it goes from there. Finally, for the month, I've got my 5-star read, Listen for the Lie. This one was so good. It was so fast-paced and witty and funny. You know when you're reading a book and like you want to chuckle along? That was this for me. I do hear the audiobook is amazing. So if you're looking for an audiobook, give this one a try. I could definitely see that just based on how it's written. Like almost sometimes it felt like it was in point form. And I really appreciated that because sometimes that's actually how I think. This book had really short chapters and it normally ended with little podcast segments. So I thought that was really cool. The plot for Listen for the Lie is that we have our main character, Lucy. She was accused of murdering her best friend, Savvy, back like 5 years ago. She was never convicted. However, everyone thought she did it. So she was let free. She moved to Los Angeles just to get a fresh start. Now there's a podcast and they're reviving the case of Savvy's murder. And of course that means the light is shining on Lucy. So she loses her job, she gets broken up with, and she has to move out because she was living with her boyfriend. What does she do? She goes to her hometown in Texas for her grandmother's birthday. She kind of just ends up staying there. She hasn't been back for the last 5 years because everyone in her hometown thinks that she killed Savvy. So she actually meets the podcaster because he's in the town and they work together because they want to find out if she did it. You might be wondering, how does she not know if she did it? Well, because she has amnesia for the trauma of the event. So she actually cannot remember what happened that night. And she wants to know just as much as everybody else whether she killed her best friend or not. So that's all the books I read this month. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. I do monthly wrap-ups every month, and in between I do lifestyle vlogs every Sunday. Also, you'll see I have some shorts on my page and also on my TikTok. So you can check me out there and subscribe on this channel, comment down below and like this video, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye!